Let's talk about letting your kids solve their own problems. As a mom, I am a master problem solver. I know how to wipe a butt on a public toilet with a baby on the front of me. I know how to detangle the most horrific ponytail without pulling out too much hair. I know how to get things done and just figure things out as I go as problems arise all around me so that it doesn't create this massive dumpster fire. And I like to save the day for more than a few reasons. I love to be a helper, and I'm sure you can relate if you're a mom. I really like to help people. I also like to have control because I am a type A person. Maybe you can relate to that too. I also like to reduce my anxiety as often as possible. Less mess, less stress. I should have a t-shirt or an apron with that on there. It also helps my family to reduce the meltdowns when I can swoop in and save the day. I'm sure you can relate to all of this, and you're probably laughing because I think it's hilarious with me just saying it. But oftentimes I have to stop and think, am I doing my kid any favors by solving their problems for them? Now, when I say problems in this context, I don't mean like actual big life problems. We're talking smaller scale, like zipping up a jacket or finding a favorite toy, or these aren't the right pants. Can I have some different pants? Or I don't have the exact book that I want. Keeping kids from their problems can create a whole slew of issues that I have personally seen in my work life and my personal life. So it keeps them from being able to solve their own problems, and it just keeps delaying that development for them. And the more that is delayed, the longer it takes them to develop the coping skills to be able to solve their own problems. When their problems are more complex, it can perpetuate difficult behaviors because they're not able to cope when they do have a problem. And the older they get and the stronger and more vocal and more opinionated they get, you will have bigger difficult behaviors that could turn into a safety issue. It can create more dependence on me, and obviously to an extent my kids should depend on me, but the goal is pushing them towards independence. And it can actually stunt problem solving skills when it actually counts. So picturing a kid being lost in a grocery store, or navigating a busy parking lot, or navigating social situations with peers at school. Insert whatever scenario comes to your mind. But I've seen this a ton in my work life. Either parents have a hard time letting their kids solve their problems, or they don't have the capacity for it, it's too much of a hassle, or truly they just don't know how to help their kids solve their problems. All of that, I totally get that. I live it every day, but I have to really think about in the moment, like, am I going to let my kid learn how to solve this problem? What is the cost versus the reward in this specific situation? So if my kid is having a hard time zipping up a jacket, is it going to hurt our family or our situation or timing with whatever we're doing if I give it another 60 seconds to allow this kid to try to solve their own problem? So some things that I really try to be intentional about when I'm letting my kids or other kids who are around me solve their own problems. Giving them safe opportunities to fail. And I mentioned this in a previous video, and I'll share the link for that. Giving them safe opportunities to fail can help give them those experiences to navigate through the challenges and to be able to cope emotionally when they do arise. It helps teach them real world expectations, and it helps their brains to adapt appropriately with whatever is going on. Prompting different questions like, what do you think will happen if you do this? Or what do you think about that? Why don't you think this is working? Have you tried thinking of a different way? I do this not to be like snarky and make it seem like I'm a know-it-all, because clearly I'm not. But it really helps establish a skill called executive functioning. This is a big term that really kind of encompasses several different brain skills, like memory retention or the ability to problem solve, attention, planning, organizing, being able to adapt to situations, self regulation, the ability to make decisions. All of those different skills fall under this big term, executive functioning. So if I'm giving my kid the answer or doing it for them all the time, it's just delaying them learning these executive functioning skills. But if I ask them questions, then they're actually having to think about it in real time. Another thing I have to do, when they're stuck, I am not going to let them just flounder. I'm going to walk alongside them and actually teach them the skill that will help them solve this problem. So this might be common sense, which is wonderful if it is. But if it is not, then let me lay it out. I give them some time to try to work it out themselves. But if they're having a hard time working it out themselves, then maybe they truly don't know the skill that's required to accomplish whatever they're doing. So let's take the example of zipping up a jacket. If I let my son just continually struggle trying to zip up this jacket, that's not going to teach him how to zip up the jacket. I actually need to walk through the skill of loading the zipper and anchoring with his hand and then pulling up and creating tension on the zipper so that it can zip up. I have to come alongside of him and support him in his learning. And then later on, I can let him try to navigate that skill himself. And you have to make sure to give them small wins when possible so that they can build the confidence that they can figure it out themselves. Or, hey, my mom is actually going to help me walk through this. So then when she is prompting me to do it by myself, I know that there is that safety net that she's going to help me if I actually need help. So it helps build the trust, it helps build the confidence in his or her own skills. And that is going to help boost when problem solving needs to come into play. Another thing, we work through self-regulation skills a lot. Frustration is so real in my house on the kids' side and my side. And it's really helpful when you're working through those self-regulation skills in real time. So examples of this, and I'm sure I will cover this at some point, but just like, hey, pause, let's take a deep breath. Is this a big problem or a small problem? Is this something that we can manage? Do you need a minute to yourself before we revisit this? Just some skills like that so that they can kind of have like a mini reset. They can gain a little bit of composure before we try to problem solve. Because if we just try to plow through problem solving with a skill and the kid is irate or just feeling a lot of self-doubt or hysterically crying, that's not a time that I'm pushing through problem solving. I need the kid to come back down to somewhat neutral, as close to neutral as possible, so that we can push through those problem solving skills. Lastly, we praise the heck out of our kids when they come up with some kind of problem solving win. Just get flour in my face, good grief. I may have mentioned this before, but I differentiate between coming up with a solution and coming up with an appropriate solution. So even if our daughter is coming up with some kind of solution to a problem, but it's just kind of off the wall and you're like, that was creative thinking, but that's really not going to work. That's not what I say at all. I only say that to you because you're thinking it too. What I'm saying to her is, that was really creative. I'm proud of you for using some problem solving skills. There's some reasons that this may not work. Could we maybe try X, Y, and Z? And then you guys kind of work through that together. So praise for the critical thinking to get to a solution and then helping them through actually finding an appropriate solution. This is really going to help build the kids' confidence in problem solving in the future. Some things that I take caution not to do when I'm trying to let my kids solve a problem. I really try not to talk too much. This is something that is deep within my nature as a type A problem solving mom is just trying to talk too much when my kid is working through something and it's like they're literally going through the motions of trying to figure it out, and then it's like, oh well, maybe don't do it that way, or try doing this, or here, let me help you with that, and then you're somehow doing it for them. You're not actually letting them do it. If you just take a minute and pause and you're quiet, you give the kid a safe place to think about it themselves. That really helps develop those critical thinking skills, and they're able to kind of wrestle through it without all of this noise going on. Which leads me to the next thing that I try not to do is swoop in prematurely, because if I just give it the situation even 10 seconds to kind of play out how it will naturally, 50% of the time, I am impressed by my kids' ability to figure it out themselves. If I swoop in after 2 seconds, then I'm not giving them that chance to figure out. Last thing I really try not to do, which probably takes the most intentionality, is not making it a shame game. And I know that sounds really harsh, but I think sometimes we can do this without even realizing it, just with the language that we use. Even if we say something like, wow, that was a really nice try, but that's not going to work. That's not giving anybody any confidence. And it just makes the kid feel a little like doo-doo. I have to be patient myself when doing this. I need to take a deep breath. I need to be thinking, okay, how am I responding to this kid in this moment? And how could that maybe make them feel? Kids don't problem solve on an adult's level yet. And so it might seem like really baby steps that they're working through, because it is little baby steps that they're working through. Because once they learn those baby steps, those are going to snowball into adult problem solving, or so you would hope. So, a little call to action for the week. Let your kid try to problem solve something this week, whether that's 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or if this kid is operating off of an older developmental stage, let them try to problem solve something for a longer amount of time. But at the end of the experience, give yourself and the kid some grace, be patient with each other, and you know what? Share a cookie, because you guys are problem solving together and you're helping facilitate those really awesome skills. Even a solid attempt counts, even if they don't figure out a solution or an appropriate solution. I'll leave you with this final thought. I feel like when I was a young adult, off at college, doing my own thing out of the house, that is when I had to learn a ton of my problem solving skills in real time. Not that I was necessarily like sheltered from having to figure things out, but I just wonder if I was given more specific type of problem solving opportunities when I was younger, it may have helped me a little bit in adulthood, and I wouldn't have had to learn certain things the hard way. So interpret that how you will, and maybe that's applicable for you too. But for us, I really want our kids to be like powerful problem solvers, especially in a day and age where kids really, from what I have seen, are not being taught these softer skills of being a person. Yeah, I'm going to help them learn those things little by little while they're in the home, so that when they do fly the coop, then they're not having to face such big, drastic problem solving scenarios. And so, yeah, just figured I would leave you with that little nugget of like personal experience. Thank you so much for stopping by Old Path New Walk. If you found this helpful, please give this video a like and hit subscribe to this channel so that you are updated whenever I put out new content. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I will see you next time on Old Path New Walk. I am gonna bake some biscuits for dinner. I love you, and that you love flaky biscuits. I'll break my back for you. I'll do a lot more than that. Don't ask for any favors.